Hi, I'm Akaya, and today I'll be talking about meritocracy in the American educational system. Before I do so, I have to explain to you what meritocracy is. Meritocracy is when someone or a selective group of people influence others from all sociocultural and financial backgrounds to advance to the top. Although this might sound great in theory, it is not realistic. Meritocracy is not efficient because it adds on to many existing power imbalances, increases poor distribution of justice, and divides the higher and lower class even more. Basically, meritocracy allows people with money and status to succeed, corruption is more noticeable, and it makes the rich richer and the poor poorer. Even though we're looking at meritocracy at a larger spectrum, we can still see the signs in a smaller aspect. That's why I'm talking about the American education system. It is no surprise America's school system sucks. I mean, everyone is learning things at a different pace, and the only thing that brings us together is 2 standardized tests that deem if we get into college. Well, that's why I gathered 4 friends of mine to conclude a small experiment. We have Raina, Anne, Reagan, and Joe. I asked 4 unbiased questions about their educational experiences before UAB. These questions include, how's your K-12 educational experience, and what are some contrasting experiences you faced? Do you think money is a big factor of educational success? Do you think cherry picking is ethical? On a scale of 1 to 10, how prepared do you think your K-12 experience prepared you for college? For our first question, we have Joe answering. The question reads, how's your K-12 educational experience, and what are some contrasting experiences you faced?
Well, I'll start with public and private, since that's like a big one. Going to private school, it was like they're really attentive. I went to a Montessori school, and if you know anything about those, they have a different like learning style, and it's really casual. So you can like have fun while you're learning, and it feels like home more than like school, like public school, which is like a job. But in 6th grade, I started going to public school, and it was really more like standardized and wasn't like individualized for like each student. Like they didn't really care about us learning. It was really just about like standardized test scores, and just like keep like working and like putting stuff in your brain that you'll forget like next year.
Joe was the only person to attend private schools before college, so it was very interesting to see his educational journey. In total, he spent equal amounts of time in both public and private schools. Anne went to public school in California and in Alabama, while Reagan and Raina went to public schools in Alabama their whole K-12. For our second question, we have Anne answering. The question reads, do you think money is a big factor for educational success?
Yes. For basic needs such as notebooks and classroom materials, it's alright. Like sometimes there's like always like programs to get that stuff for free, and like through schools, like they're always like having stuff to give out. But like if you were to like want to seek out your interests by clubs and like sports, then funding is definitely something like essential, and like money does matter to fund for trips, games, like clothing, uniforms, and all that.
Everyone said something similar to what Anne said. For our third question, we have Reagan answering. The question reads, do you think cherry picking is ethical? Before Reagan answers, let me explain what cherry picking is. Cherry picking is not what it sounds like, and no, we're not harvesting fruit. Cherry picking is selectively picking out the best people or ideas to benefit the future. For example, say you have 15 students and you only pick 3. Although those students might feel honored to be selected, what about the other 12 students? Although happiness is present, other students might feel neutral, discouraged, or angered about the exclusion. In worst cases, cherry picking is known to have a negative effect, and a lack of effort is shown. Students might not find themselves as worthy as others. Long story short, the exclusion creates division and leaves others with discouraging feelings. One could say the other students were helped, but let's see what Reagan has to say.
Well, no, I don't think cherry picking is ethical. I can give an example. When I was in elementary school, I was tested for the gifted program, but I did not get in. And when those that were in the gifted program were pulled out of class, it was very discouraging and made me feel like I didn't know what they knew or they had one up on me.
Along with Reagan, the others agreed that cherry picking is not ethical. And finally, for our last question, we have Raina answering. The question asks, on a scale of 1 to 10, how prepared do you think your K-12 experience prepared you for college? Reagan said a 6, Raina said a 4.5, Joe is in the middle, so we'll say 5/?, and Raina said 5.
But like, you're basing your future and your college experience on a number. When you can get in with any score and you can do well with whatever route you choose. So I feel like they should really look at the student's background and like how well they did in high school. Don't base it solely off of like the standardized test that most students don't have, like don't take the classes to like, need to succeed, like the math portion of the ACT. There's some Cal questions. Some people in high school didn't really reach Cal to answer those certain type of questions. So I do feel like they're basing off of the wrong things, such as the ACT.
Raina's response sparked interest, so I asked a bonus question. I asked them what did they make on their ACT. Anne forgot what she made, but it's either a 29 or 30. Raina made a 27, Reagan made a 20, and Joe made a 24. Meritocracy limits creativity and promotes inclusive environments amongst others. If there's one way to advance to the top, how can one differ from each other? The lack of diversity is boring to think about, but the real factor is money. You can do anything with status and quicker when you have the money to spend. Nothing is never impossible, but it's harder to do things when money is not present. With those two factors in mind, the class division gap will be visible. Either you have it or you don't. In conclusion, funding should be managed better for students with less, and people should be conscious of what's going on. Even though we're not in middle school anymore, we should be wary of changes. The children in grade school will be running the world eventually.